and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and in his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Thank you. Thank you. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Let me use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. Thank you. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. and we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation, and right now our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America, promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, performing America the Beautiful, please welcome the Armed Forces Chorus and Carrie Underwood.
Well, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here today. We have first full day as president. We're back. And we had a great first term, but we're going to have an even better second term. And I think we're going to do things that people would be shocked at. We're starting off with tremendous investment coming into our country at levels that nobody's really ever seen before. And they're very happy with the fact that I won the race and that they feel confident in their investments. And it's big money and high quality people. So my first day back from having a nice life, it's my honor to welcome three of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say the by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did. So I appreciate that, fellas. But it'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors. We want it to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations, because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built. So they have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get that production done very easily at their own plants if they want, where they'll build at the plant, the AI plant, they'll build energy generation, and that will be incredible. But it's technology and artificial intelligence, all made in the USA, Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures. I was in the real estate business. These buildings, these are big, beautiful buildings. They're going to employ a lot of people. And physical campuses and locations currently being scouted nationwide. They're making their choices of locations. I think they have their choice. I'd like to ask Larry, Sam, and Masa to say a few words and just talk about a little bit about what they're doing. And if you have any questions, and then we'll go into a couple of other subjects also. But this is, to me, a very big thing. $500 billion Stargate project. I think it's going to be something that's very special. It'll lead to something that could be the biggest of all. So, Larry, maybe we'll start with you, and we'll go down the line. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. We certainly couldn't do this without you. It would simply be impossible. AI holds incredible promise for all of us, for every American. We've actually been working with OpenAI for a while and with Masa for a while. The data centers are actually under construction. The first of them are under construction in Texas. Each building's 500,000 square feet. There are 10 buildings currently being built, but that will expand to 20, and other locations beyond the Abilene location, which is our first location. The kind of applications that we're building, to give you an idea, maybe the most charismatic and the one that I think touches us all is electronic health records. Not just maintaining electronic health records, but by looking at electronic health records, understanding the condition of doctors, better understanding the condition of their patients, and being able to provide healthcare plans that are much better than they otherwise would be. A doctor in Indian River Reservation would be able to see how a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering would treat the patient, or a doctor at Stanford would treat the patient. We actually provide all of that information, all of that guidance to the doctors who are treating cancer patients or patients with any other kind of disease, made possible by AI. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to pass it to Masa, but this is a very exciting program for Oracle to be a part of. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That really helpful. That's good. That's great. I feel tall now. Thank you. Well, Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500. Because this is the, as you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think, right? We wouldn't have decided to do this.
I think so.
This is the beginning of golden age. We wouldn't have decided unless you won. And yesterday we agreed, we signed to make this happen.
That's great.
Because of this day.
Very nice.
So we would make this happen. We would immediately start deploying $100 billion with the goal of making $500 billion within next 4 years, within your term,
Yeah.
right? Because of your success. So we are very, very excited to do this. And our partner is, of course, SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and additionally investing partner with MGX. On top of that, we have the technology partner, NVIDIA, and of course, Microsoft has been very, very supportive to Sam and continue to support all our success. This is not just for business. As Larry said, this will help people's life. This will help solving many, many issues, difficult things that otherwise we could not have solved with the power of AI. I think AGI is coming very, very soon. And then after that, that's not the goal. After that, artificial super intelligence will come to solve the issues that mankind would never ever have thought that we could solve. Well, this is the beginning of our golden age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Sam.
I don't have too much to add, but I did want to say I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here, we wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is, I think, wonderful. So thank you very much.
Could you just say one word? I hear so many positive things about what it's going to do for medical research and for solving things, cancer and all the different problems. How will AI help us with the fight against the various problems, diseases, etc.?
These guys can maybe share more about some of the work they're doing there. I think they'll jointly be some of the leaders about driving progress here. But I believe that as this technology progresses, we will see diseases get cured at an unprecedented rate. We will be amazed at how quickly we're curing this cancer and that one and heart disease, and what this will do for the ability to deliver very high quality healthcare, the costs, but really to cure the diseases at a rapid rate, I think will be among the most important things this technology does.
Okay, great. Very good. Thank
Can I
you.
speak and answer that question, Mr. President? So we're currently working on. Should I step on this? Okay. All right. No. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. I'm not tall.
You look even better.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most exciting things we're working on, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Thank you, sir. Great, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
President, we have some questions.
Yeah, just 1 second. We'll finish up. But these are highly respected guys. I was shocked with Larry because I don't even think Larry does this stuff. You did a very good job for a guy that doesn't do it much, right? But he's so respected, and the group, and it's really an honor. But for Larry to be here and do this is very unusual because he doesn't do this stuff. He doesn't need it. He does, and you don't need it, do you? You don't need it. But I think it's an honor to the country. It's a great honor that this group, these are the top people, that they're going to do it, and they're going to do it here, and we're going to make it as easy as it can be. A $500 million Stargate project comes in addition to a separate pledge between $100 and $200 billion from, as we know, from Masa, that we talked about before. Also $20 billion from DMAC, which was great. And we have many others that are coming. Some I just announce it. It's easier, but with some, I know them, and they're so highly respected, I'd rather do it this way. Many would like to do it this way, but we're letting the world know what's happening. This is money that normally would have gone to China or other countries, but in particular China. In total, before the end of my first full business day in Washington in the White House, we've already secured nearly $3 trillion of new investments in the United States, and probably that's going to be 6 or 7 by the end of the week. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in for many things other than even AI. AI seems to be very hot. It seems to be the thing that a lot of smart people are looking at very strongly. And our country will be prospering like never before. I think that's true, and it's going to be the golden age of America. As I say, yesterday we had the most ambitious, action-oriented day of any administration in history. No, there's never been a first day like yesterday, as you know. I signed a sweeping slate of executive orders to stop the invasion of our borders. I launched a government-wide effort to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life and bring down the cost of energy, magnificently bring it down. And when energy comes down, Larry, I'd say generally speaking, when energy comes down, everything else comes down. The prices of food and the prices of everything else come down. Energy is that's the big baby. And we declared a national energy emergency to drill, baby, drill, our term that we use. We're going to drill, baby, drill like never before. We ended destructive DEI mandates across the federal government and returned our country to a merit-based system and a common sense system. As you know, the Supreme Court gave us a decision on merit, where things in this country can be based on merit now instead of a lot of different rules, regulations, and things that really put our country at a big disadvantage. We permanently stopped government censorship and restored free speech. That was signed yesterday. We renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Sounds so beautiful, the Gulf of America, and returned the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley. They took off the name, and he was actually a great president. He was a very, very successful businessman. He ran for governor of Ohio. He won and did a great job as governor, ran for president, and he won. He was assassinated, ultimately, in his second term, unfortunately. But he was the tariff king, and I don't think he was as bad as I am. I think I believe in him even more than him, but he believed in him very strongly. And he raised massive amounts of money. Our country was at its richest. From 1870 to 1913, we had the most. That was when we were the richest, relatively speaking. We were the richest during that period of time. That was tariffs from other countries. And our administration's moving with unprecedented urgency and speed to confront every single crisis facing us, and we'll get the job done. And again, I want to thank Sam and Masa and Larry for being here. It's an honor to have them. And we'll take a few questions if you want.
Can I ask about some of the executive orders? You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this. Murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in LA, where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing. I also say this, you go to Portland, where they wrapped police officers, shot police officers, nothing happened to anybody. You go to Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city and people died. Portland, a lot of people died. Wait a minute. And you go also, take a look at Minneapolis, because I was there and I watched it. And if I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city wouldn't even exist today. People were killed and nobody went to jail. So these people have already served a long period of time, and I made a decision to give a pardon. Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals. These are criminals that he gave a pardon to. And you should be asking that question. Why did he give a pardon to all of these people that committed crimes? Why did he give a pardon to the J6 Unselect Committee when they burned and destroyed all documents which showed that they did what was wrong, not me? Wait a minute. Why did they give a pardon to all of his relatives, his brother who made millions of dollars, to all these different people? He gave pardons. That's the question you should be answering. All right, go ahead. Yeah, please.
If I can just follow up
about your
Steve, can I just follow up with that really fast?
No.
I just want to ask
Go
you
ahead.
this. You said you will.
Tell us about your meeting with Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune. Did you reach any conclusion on this one big?
Pretty much. I think we have a good situation now. It's been in some ways made simpler by Los Angeles because they're going to need a lot of money. And generally speaking, I think you'll find that a lot of Democrats are going to be asking for help. So I think maybe that makes it more one-sided. I think we're going to do very well. Look, we're going to take care of Los Angeles. I'm going there. I'm going to North Carolina, which has been abandoned by the Democrats. And I'm going to North Carolina, very importantly, first. I'll be there on Friday. And then I'm going from there to Los Angeles. And then I'm going to Nevada. And I'm really going to Nevada to thank them for the vote because we won Nevada overwhelmingly. And that's usually a Democrat vote, and I just want to go there to thank the people of Nevada for the big vote. So we'll be making that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, the leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were freed following their pardons yesterday. At the time, back in 2021, you urged them to stand back and stand by. Is there now a place for them in the political conversation?
Well, we have to see they've been given a pardon. I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. One of the guys took down a flag that was an anti-American flag, and he was given years in jail. I don't know the exact number, but he was given many years in jail. I thought it was very excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country, so we thought a pardon would be appropriate, yeah.
Mr. President, is it also true in your conversations with Republicans today that you asked them to consider recess appointments for cabinet officials?
I think, yeah, if it's needed. I don't think it's going to be needed. Marco, as you know, got passed overwhelmingly with 99-0, which is pretty amazing. Marco's going to do a great job, Secretary of State, but he just got, I guess he was the first one and just got approved. That's some vote, 99-0, and the nothing was a vote that he would have gotten if we wanted to do it. But you know whose vote that was, who's doing a great job right now as vice president.
Did you also talk about some sort of a trade or a deal involving wildfire relief in extension for a debt?
Well, what I really want to have done, I was talking about this with the guys back in the Oval Office. Los Angeles has massive amounts of water available to it. All they have to do is turn the valve, and that's the valve coming back from and down from the Pacific Northwest, where millions of gallons of water a week and a day, even in many cases, pours into California, goes all through California down to Los Angeles, and they turned it off. It's off now. The valve goes, it turns toward the Pacific Ocean, and all that water goes pouring into the Pacific Ocean. If they did what I told them to do, they wouldn't do it because politically they didn't think it was good. I think it's great politically. I think they're dead politically. What they've done, they've destroyed the city. What they've done to that city is unbelievable. The sprinklers, their sprinklers in there like these right here that you see, none of them had any water in them. They didn't have any water. The fire hydrants, 40% of them had no water. The brush was just dry. Everything was dry. The sprinklers on the lawn weren't allowed to even be used. So, you know, everything was dry, and it was an inferno. They created an inferno. So we're demanding that they turn the valve back toward Los Angeles right now. It's not even believable that they haven't done it. Just so you know, they have a valve, and it turns like, think of a sink, but multiply it times many thousands of times the size of it. It's massive. And you turn it back toward Los Angeles. Why aren't they doing it? They either have a death wish, they're stupid, or there's something else going on that we don't understand. But we want the water that they're throwing away to be used for California. And that includes the farmers of California. You know, when you drive up north, you see all of the land I couldn't believe it. I was with Devin Nunes when he was a congressman and some other congressmen from the area, and we're driving up and we're on the highway, and I keep looking at these farms, and the land is bone dry, and then you'd see an acre, about an acre or 2 acres, with the most beautiful green plants growing in it, the most beautiful you've ever, it's rich stuff. And you look at the soil, and it's so rich. That soil is almost the equivalent to like Iowa soil. It's phenomenal. It's got no water. But the reason it has no water, I said, do you have a drought? No. I said, what do you mean you don't have a drought? Look at the thing, it's dry as a bone. The reason you have like an acre is because they say you can farm 1 acre, but no more, because they didn't want to waste water. But they throw the water into the Pacific Ocean. These people are crazy. So we're going to be issuing an executive order demanding that they immediately let that water come down through California. Farmers, even people living in Beverly Hills. Now, those people have been a lot of them are wiped out. Believe it or not, you know, they were having restrictions, Larry, you know about this. They wanted to restrict you to 38 gallons of water a day. That sounds like a lot, but it's not. When you're a rich person and you like to take a shower, 38 gallons doesn't last very long. And they have all this water, and it's really good water. Up high, Pacific Northwest, some comes in from Canada, a nice country, by the way, comes in from Canada, and it comes all the way through California, and they're restricting it. You even have the half pipes, you know, the half pipes, the cut pipes, big ones, bigger than this room, and they're going all the way down, and they're bone dry, and they could be loaded up with water. No, but isn't it incredible that they don't do it? And it's to protect the Delta smelt. It's a fish that's doing poorly anyway. But I said, how are you protecting the Delta smelt by not giving it water? It's a fish. It needs water. Nobody can answer that question.
Can I ask about your President Trump, TikTok, Mr. President?
Well, let me do this first.
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok? Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
I would be if he wanted to buy it, yeah.
And on your inauguration,
I'd like Larry to buy it too. I have the right to make a deal. So the deal I'm thinking about, Larry, let's negotiate in front of the media. The deal, I think, is this, and I've met with owners of TikTok, the big owners. It's worthless if it doesn't get a permit. It's not like, oh, you can take the U.S. The whole thing is worthless. With a permit, it's worth like $1 trillion. So what I'm thinking about saying to somebody is buy it and give half to the United States of America, half, and we'll give you the permit. And they'll have a great partner, the United States. And they'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for them in terms of the permits and everything else. But so think of it, you have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit, and the United States should get half. Sounds reasonable. What do you think?
Sounds like a good deal to me, Mr. President.
Yeah. He can afford it too.
Mr. President, you're a president who has long said that you back the blue, but aren't you sending the message that assaulting officers is okay with these parties?
No, the opposite. In fact, I'm going to be letting 2 officers from Washington Police, D.C. I believe they're from D.C., but I just approved it. They were arrested, put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal, and I guess something happened where something went wrong. And they arrested the 2 officers and put them in jail for going after a criminal. A rough criminal, by the way, and I'm actually releasing. No, I am the friend of police, more than any president that's ever been in this office.
More than 400 of the people that you pardoned, though, assaulted officers. So I want to ask you about the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He said, this is a week ago, he said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you should not be pardoned. Why is your Vice President wrong?
Well, only for one reason. They've served years in jail. They should not have served, excuse me, and they've served years in jail, and murderers don't even go to jail in this country. And we had 1,500, we have 16 under review. As you know, we commuted about 16 of them because it looks like they could have done things that were not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail, and their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting. They've served years in jail, and if you look at the American public is tired of it. Take a look at the election. Just look at the numbers on the election. We won this election in a landslide because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people in terms of crime. You don't talk about all the people that have been killed and what happens to those murderers. Murderers get no time. You take a look at some of these DAs. They go after political opponents, but they don't go after people that shoot people in the street. They're caught. They know where they're living. They know everything. They don't even go up to pick them up anymore. They just let them live there. They know all about it. They have their pictures. They have the tape of the shooting, and they don't even go up and you're talking about this. No, we pardoned people that were treated unbelievably poorly. In the history of our country, there's never been anything take place like this. They're still looking for them, but they're not looking for the murderers, the people that are killing everybody. We are, though, and we're getting them out of the country. We just started that. We're getting them out of the country, and they're going to be gotten out of the country fast. They came in illegally from jails and from prisons. They killed many people. Some of them killed many people. About 50% of them killed more than one person. They were released into our country. That's what we're focused on, not the kind of nonsense you're talking about.
You've called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently along
the war should have never started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president, but that couldn't happen because the election was rigged. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been some debate within your orbit over whether or not to keep or eliminate H-1B visas. What's your position on that? Do you want to keep H-1Bs or do you want to get rid of them?
I like both sides of the argument, but I also like very competent people coming into our country, even if that involves them training and helping other people that may not have the qualifications they do. But I don't want to stop. And I'm not just talking about engineers. I'm talking about people at all levels. We want competent people coming into our country. And HB1, I know the program very well. I use the program. Maitre d's, wine, experts, even waiters, high-quality waiters. You got to get the best people. Now, then you go into people like Larry, and he needs engineers, and Massa needs, and this gentleman needs engineers like nobody's ever needed engineers, right? So we have to have the quality people coming in. Now, by doing that, we're expanding businesses, and that takes care of everybody. So I'm sort of on both sides of the argument, but what I really do feel is that we have to let really competent people, great people come into our country, and we do that through the H-1 program.
Mr. President, are you looking to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico in an effort to force negotiations sooner on USMCA?
No, it's really not on USMCA. It has nothing to do with that. They've allowed, both of them, Canada very much so. They've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive. And people are getting killed, and families are being destroyed. I mean, the son gets killed, and the family is a basket case for the rest of their lives. I mean, I've seen mothers that thought they'd heal. They never heal. They say it gets worse with time. It gets worse with time. They lose their boy. They lose their baby. They lose their young daughter to fentanyl poisoning. And I had that talk with President Xi the other day, too, of China. I said, we don't want that crap in our country. We got to stop it. I would have stopped it. I had a deal with him where he was going to give the maximum penalty, which in China is the death penalty for drug dealing. And he was all said he was going to give the maximum penalty to fentanyl dealers. If they send to the United States, they were going to get the death penalty. And, of course, Biden didn't pick that up. I had that deal all done. It was all wrapped up. We were going to have it done. And then the election went, let's put it nicely, didn't go the proper way. I'm trying to be nice about it. It was rigged. And we had an incompetent president elected, and he never followed up on that deal. But he should have followed up, because if they got the death penalty, they wouldn't be sending fentanyl to Mexico, Canada, and other places.
How much will the tariffs on China be, Mr. President? How much will the tariffs?
We're thinking about that too. We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
How soon on those tariffs?
Probably February 1st is the date we're looking at.
Sir,
For Mexico and China, we're talking about approximately 25%.
have an update on the Gaza ceasefire, and are you planning to travel to the Middle East soon?
We're thinking about going to the Middle East, not yet. We have a thing called the hostages are coming back going on right now, and they are coming back. Some of them have been very damaged. You look at the young lady with her hand practically blown off. You know how that happened, right? Did you know how that happened? When you find out, you're not going to be too happy because it was terrible. But the hostages are starting to come back. If I weren't here, they wouldn't be back ever. They would have never come back. They would have all died. If this were done a year earlier, if Biden would have done this deal a year and a half, 2 years ago, or frankly, it should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened. Nobody should be dead. But through weakness, they allowed it to happen, and then it was a disaster from them. But you go back just 6 months ago, many of these young people were living. Young people don't die like that. They're just dying. And young people aren't dying at 22 and 23 years old. They don't die. But now they're dying, and you wonder why they're dying. They're being killed, and they have been killed. But they say 6 months ago you would have had 11 more living hostages. Think of that. 6 months ago. But Biden couldn't get it done, and it was only the imposition that I put on as a deadline that got it done. But it's a very sad situation. It should have never happened. I'll tell you, 2 things should have never happened. 3 things. Inflation should have never happened. It would have never happened except for what they did to energy and their crazy spending. And Ukraine would have never happened. Never. By the way, Russia never would have gone into Ukraine. I had a very strong understanding with Putin that it would have never, ever happened. He disrespected Biden. Very simple. He disrespects people. He's smart. He understands. He disrespected Biden. And also, the Middle East would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. It would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. But it did happen. So this is the cards I've been given. And we're getting the hostages back. That would have never happened under Biden. They would have never come back. They were just dying not that slowly. They were dying or being killed. But that was what was happening.
Are you going to keep sending weapons to Ukraine, or are you going to turn off the tap soon?
Well, we're looking at that. We're talking to Zelensky. We're going to be talking with President Putin very soon. And we'll see how it all happens. We're going to look at it very soon. One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying, because under Biden, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. What are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes, because they must think so. But the European Union takes advantage of us tremendously on trade. And they now take advantage of, and always have. If I didn't get involved years ago, my first term, one of the first things I noticed was that they're not paying enough. They're not paying, and a lot of those countries weren't even paying. The NATO countries, they weren't paying. Only 7 out of 28 were paying. We were one of them, and Poland was one, and they had a few of them that were paying, and some were paying very proudly. Usually, the closer to the borderline of Russia they were, the faster they paid, okay? The ones that were further away tended not to pay so fast. And one thing on that, I think they should lift their number not to 2%, but to 5%. NATO should be at 5%. not a 2%. 2% is ridiculous, yeah.
Did you ask President Xi in your conversation about Ukraine, did you ask him to get involved in helping settle that? Can you tell us about that?
I did, yeah. I said, you ought to get it settled, because he's not done very much on that. He's got a lot of power, like we have a lot of power. I said, you ought to get it settled. We did discuss it, yeah.
Mr. President, you launched a crypto coin the other day. Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
Sir, you talked about the letter from President Biden. Can you give us some sense, broadly speaking?
Yeah, he wrote me a nice letter. I mean, I did open it last night. And I didn't know. Peter said, did you get the letter? I said, wait a minute, let's see the letter. It's sort of a tradition. You put it in the drawer, especially of the beautiful Resolute desk, right? And I opened it, and there it was. It said to number 47. And it was a very nice letter. I mean, I could show it because I think it was a nice letter. Maybe I will. I think.
What do you say in terms of
just basically, it was a little bit of an inspirational type letter. You know, enjoy it, do a good job. Important, very important. How important the job is. But I think it was a nice letter. I think I should let people see it because it was a positive for him in writing it. I appreciated the letter.
Mr. President, were security concerns at all a factor when deciding to move your inauguration indoors?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It was just cold. Look, if we would have, I just went out to the helicopter, right, we said goodbye. That's a tradition. As long as before it used to be a stagecoach, and then helicopters came along. But that's been a tradition. You go out and you do that. And we stood there for 10 minutes, and I'll tell you what, people would not have been able to get through that day. That was cold. It was sort of interesting. Don't let the sun fool you. Tell me something. Sunny days can get very cold, can't they? Because that was so freezing yesterday. You couldn't have gotten through it. It would have been. And the answer is no, it wasn't security. With that being said, I thought the Capitol, the Rotunda, was beautiful. 72 degrees, unbelievable sound. It's like being in an opera house. I could see people wanting to do it there rather than outside.
Why did you remove John Bolton's security clearance, sir?
Because I think there was enough time. We take a job. You take a job. You want to do a job. We're not going to have security on people for the rest of their lives. Why should we? I thought he was a very dumb person, but I used him well because every time people saw me come into a meeting with John Bolton standing behind me, they thought that he'd attack them because he was a warmonger. He's the one that got us involved, along with Cheney and a couple of others, convinced Bush, which was a terrible decision, to blow up the Middle East. We blew up the Middle East and we left. We got nothing out of it except a lot of death. We killed a lot of people. And John Bolton was, one of those guys, a stupid guy. But no, you can't have that for life. You shouldn't expect it for life.
You mentioned with President Zelensky, will that take place here, and when and where will you meet with him?
I don't know. I mean, look, President Zelensky would like to have peace. He's told me that very strongly. He'd like to have peace, but it takes two to tango. We'll see what happens.
When will you meet with President Putin?
Anytime they want, I'll meet. I'd like to see that end. Millions of people are being killed, and they're being killed. It's a vicious situation, and they're now largely soldiers. A lot of people have been killed in the cities. They look like demolition sites. Buildings, massive buildings bombed and coming down. The thing with Ukraine is that many more people died than you're reporting. You're not reporting the real numbers, and I'm not blaming you for that. I'm blaming maybe our government for not wanting to release those numbers. Many more people died than what you know about. When those big buildings come down and they say 2 people were injured, no. Many people, thousands of people are being killed. But the real killing now is on the war front. It's a very flat land. And the only thing that stops a bullet is somebody's body. And you have young soldiers. So Russia's lost about 800,000 soldiers now. Ukraine's lost about 600 or 700,000. I think the numbers are low that they're giving out. But they've lost massive numbers of young soldiers, and that war should stop. It's very flat, you know, it's beautiful farmland, and it's flat and really beautiful in a different kind of a way, but they don't have any protection. The only thing that stops a bullet is a body, and those bodies are stopping a lot of bullets, and they're being decimated, both sides.
Your conversation with President Xi, what did you tell him in terms of when to expect tariffs, and what can he do to avoid them?
About which one? About tariffs? We didn't talk too much about tariffs, other than he knows where I stand. Look, I put large tariffs on China. I've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. Until I was president, China never paid not 10 cents to the United States. With me, they paid hundreds of $600 billion or so, or more than that even, of tariffs. And if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a steel mill open in the United States right now. You wouldn't have one steel mill open in the United States. So what I did is I saved the steel industry. I saved other industries too with other tariffs. Other countries are big abusers also. You know, it's not just China. China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take very much. We have a $350 billion deficit with the European Union. They treat us very, very badly. So they're going to be in for tariffs. It's the only way you're going to get back. It's the only way you're going to get fairness. You can't get fairness unless you do that. But the European Union's treated us very badly. But essentially everybody treats us badly. You know, everybody treats us badly. Yes, go ahead. Because we allow them to. Because we've had stupid people doing this, and we can't have. I'd like to have these three people negotiate for us, just for 1 week, and we'd be a rich country again. But we'll be rich.
Mr. President, on AI data centers, will you rescind President Biden's executive order that opens up federal land?
On which centers?
On data centers. Will you rescind President Biden's executive order that opens up federal lands for data centers and energy production?
No, I wouldn't do that. That sounds to me like it's something that I would like. I'd like to see federal lands opened up for data centers. I think they're going to be very important. Again, we have a lot of competition for that. So it's an honor to have these three great people, great CEOs and great geniuses, all three. It's an honor that they want to come to our country, but we're going to make it as easy as we can for them because other countries want them to. I'm going to have to go now. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Question, do you have TikTok on your phone?
No, but I think I might put it there. I think I'll get it right now. By the way, again, we won the young vote. I think I won it through TikTok. So I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok. Okay? Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. President.
And your congressmen have been great. And what we thought we'd do is take a quick look around. First, we wanted to do this. I want to say that we're very disappointed in FEMA. Your new governor, it's not his fault. He's brand new to the whole situation. But we're going to work together with the governor. We're going to work together with the senators, but really we're going to work a lot with your congressmen, especially the three that are in the area, and Michael Whatley. And I'd like to put Michael in charge of making sure everything goes well. And Franklin Graham has been unbelievable. We've made a big contribution to Franklin, and we'll continue to do so. But I've been hearing nothing but praise for the job that Samaritan's Purse has done with Franklin. And we appreciate it. Where is Franklin? He's around here someplace. And that good-looking guy, he's always been a good-looking guy. His father was a good-looking guy, too, I'll tell you. We loved his father, right? I saw his father in the latter years, and I said, well, he doesn't have long to go. He was having a hard time, and he lived about 3 or 4 years after that, right? He was they say it was good stock. He had the ultimate good stock. But I want to thank you, Franklin. You've been fantastic here, and everywhere he goes, he's always the first one I see. People don't realize it how good it is. A lot of people they go, well, maybe it's for the people that he's got, and you guys know because you're here. But the people that he's got have done amazing work. So I just want to thank everybody. We're going to get over and take a look. will say a few words. I do want to introduce some of the people that we have, and our First Lady. We'll start with our First Lady. She wanted to be here because of North Carolina, and then I said, well, you can do that, but you're going to have to come to California, too. And she said, that's okay. And we got to fix that one up, too. You ever see anything like that one? It's, who would have thought that could have happened? So, Governor Josh Stein, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we're going to have a very long and good relationship. Representatives, maybe stand up if you would so the press can see. Representatives Chuck Edwards. Chuck, thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Tim Moore. Virginia, you know Virginia Fox, a legend. She is such a powerful woman. Pat Harrigan. Pat, thank you very much. Your Agriculture Commissioner, who I hear is excellent, Steve Troxler. Steve, thank you very much. Good job, Steve. You got plenty to do, right? More than you ever thought. North Carolina Speaker Dustin Hall. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks, Dustin. Very good. House Majority Leader Brendan Jones. Brendan, thank you very much. We're making progress, Brendan. State Representatives Dudley Green, Carl Gillespie. Thank you very much, fellas. Good. Good. Thank you very much. State Senators Kevin Corbin, Warren Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin, Warren. And County Commissioner Jennifer Best. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. So Hurricane Helene was one of the worst natural disasters in American history. It was far worse than it was even billed. I have never seen such water damage. It was largely water damage, wind damage, but water damage nobody's ever seen. I've been here, as you know, numerous times, but now I'm here in a position where we can do something, meaning I've been in office for 4 days, and I wanted to come sooner, but actually they had a little problem with getting logistically in here, but I would have been here even sooner. 104 North Carolinians have lost their lives. Is that now a fairly firm number, or are they still finding people? You know, what do you think? They're still finding people? Pretty much okay? It's a lot of people. 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came, it was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. At one point, half of the emergency calls to FEMA went unanswered. That's real bad. FEMA was not doing their job. The city of Asheville went without running water for 2 months. A whistleblower testified that some FEMA employees refused to help people who displayed Trump signs on their property. I think that's true, isn't it? I read that. It's not nice. That's not too nice, is it? But whoever those property people were, thank you very much. Michael, is that true? That's not good, huh? About the property owners you put a Trump sign on and they wouldn't help? FEMA. Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? You know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. We're working on it very hard, and I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job for North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. Do you want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
We have Virginia Fox, Chuck Edwards, and Tim Moore, whose districts encompassed here.
And they are the districts that were most severely impacted, right? You were affected then, Virginia?
Yes, lost my own driveway.
Really? No. I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and, whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA, and then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area, they've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly. We pay a percentage to the state. But the state should fix this. If the state did this from the beginning, it would have been a lot better situation. I think you guys agree with that, right? So I just want to say that Asheville, I know it well. It's a great place, and we're going to have it be a great place again. That was the one that was most severely affected. But North Carolina is going to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And you're going to be very thankful. And you've already seen, I know that it really began 4 days ago, but you've already seen more action than you have in the last 3 months. And we're going to get it together. We're informing the Army Corps of Engineers to get going because you have a lot of river breaks and a lot of areas that you're going to need some pretty big work. And they're on their way. They're going to be working much harder than they've been working in the past, and we're going to take care of it. Any questions from the press of any of the congressmen, governor, anybody?
Sir, are you going to sign an executive order on FEMA, getting rid of it? Can you say more about signing an executive order to get rid of FEMA, please?
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow. Other than that, we're very happy with them. Okay, and I think when there's a problem with the state, I think that problem should be taken care of by the state. That's what we have states for. They take care of problems. And a governor can handle something very quickly. You know, one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, and we had a pretty good FEMA, but I also noticed that when they come, they end up in arguments. They're fighting all the time over who does what. It's just not a good system. This system is so beautifully designed over 250 years approximately, you know, and we'll soon be celebrating the 250th year. It's going to be a very big celebration. But it's been designed very well, and we're going to leave it that way. When North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, when everybody knows the governor of Tennessee, I think, everybody? Do you know everybody here, pretty much? I never thought of it, but you're right over the ridge.
Right over the hillside.
So you're here to help. That's great.
The people in this region, including Tennessee, the people of Appalachia, are grateful that you are here and that you haven't forgotten them. And that there are other disasters, but this one was enormous for both North Carolina and Tennessee. So thank you.
You know, I've seen a lot of disasters, and when I came here right after, the day after. And when I came here, I couldn't believe it, actually. I couldn't believe the damage. And I've seen a lot of them. This was more like a tornado than it was what we witnessed. So we're going to get it very much taken care of. Good job. That's nice that you came. And so you call it you're right over the ridge, right, Tennessee?
Over the ridge, yes.
I like Tennessee, too. Let's see, where did I get more votes, Tennessee or North Carolina? I hate to tell you, North Carolina, it was Tennessee.
There's one of the counties in this disaster that had 88% for you. So
88%, yeah. No, it's the people are just incredible people.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions, press?
Yes, Mr. President, you talked about conditions being placed on aid to California, voter ID and the like. Are there any conditions that you're going to put on aid to North Carolina?
We're going to do a lot for North Carolina. You know, they've been very slow. I don't know why it's been so bad. This has been one of the worst I've seen. Katrina, of course, you know, was something that obviously that was a long time ago. That was not good. But this has been very slow. I don't know if that was for political reasons because they lost the state. You know, Biden lost the state. Maybe he felt he doesn't care. Maybe there were other reasons. I don't know. But this has been very slow. By any standard, this has been very slow. And we're gonna make up for lost time.
No conditions. You're going to push for aid.
Well, in California, I have a condition. In California, we want them to have voter ID so the people have a voice, because right now the people don't have a voice because you don't know who's voting, and it's very corrupt. And we also want them to release the water. If they released the water, they wouldn't have had a problem. If they released the water when I told them to, because I told them to do it 7 years ago, if they would have done it, you wouldn't have had the problem that you had. You might not have even had a fire. So, but here I don't have that. It's a different thing. You got hit by a storm. The people are incredible. They worked really well. Franklin was fantastic, and other groups. By the way, other groups came in that were also fantastic, and other states came in. Tennessee and a couple of others came in, and they really helped. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, this is a different kind of a thing.
Mr. President, have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief in North Carolina?
About what?
Have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief?
I haven't. I have to see what it is.
Are you disappointed that Senator Schiff hasn't joined you on this trip? It was reported you invited Senator Schiff to join you on this trip and he was too busy. Are you disappointed?
I don't know. I was told that Schiff was going to travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around, but I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out, I would have done that, but I don't know. Somebody said that he wanted to come on the plane, but I think he's staying back for the votes. There's some pretty good votes going on. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is your timeline for getting rid of FEMA?
For this one? For this one?
You just talked about possibly getting rid of FEMA. What timeline are you looking at, and how would you do that?
Well, we're looking here you're talking about. To start, we're going to start immediately, timeline. And to finish, it's going to be a period of time. You know, people are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster. No, timeline will be fast. In terms of infrastructure, I think very fast. I want to thank Elon, because Elon was able to get us communication systems, as you know, Starlink. We had no communication. The first day I got here, I was asked by one of the people, one of the really great representatives, professionals, that is there any way you could get Starlink here, because they had no communication whatsoever. And I called up Elon Musk, and he had, you know, hundreds of units brought here, brought immediately, and it's hard to get. They couldn't get them before, and that made a lot of difference. I think it saved a lot of lives, actually. Yeah, infrastructure-wise, we'll do it quickly.
Sir, can you just talk about how long you think it might take to get rid of FEMA? What's the timeline on that? If you're going to roll it back?
Yeah, I would say, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really thinking about FEMA right now. Here, I'm thinking about Michael Watley, and I'm thinking about the 3 Congress people that you just heard from, and also the other people in Congress, and they'll be working with the governor. They'll be working with the governor, so that's what I see.
Change the subject real quickly. The Laken Riley Act was signed by Speaker Johnson yesterday. Right. When do you anticipate to sign that into
Well,
office?
we're honored by that. Laken Riley, I was there at the time, and we had a big meeting with the parents right after that horrible thing took place. And we have an act. You all know what that act represents. And it was a bipartisan bill. Many Democrats signed onto it. That's something that is a tribute to Laken, a beautiful young lady who was killed viciously by an illegal alien. And we passed a very powerful bill, and it was just approved, and we'll have a ceremony sometime very shortly. I'll be signing it. In other words, if you're asking, I will definitely be signing it. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, you know, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off, and you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair, but you work for government. We took some off other people too, but you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you worked for government. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
Now, North Carolina is a state that relies on trade and manufacturing. Are you going to have an announcement on new tariffs coming soon? Is there a timeline now?
Yeah, the tariffs are going to make our country rich. We're going to be a rich, rich country very soon. Tariffs are going to make it rich, and competence. We have common sense, competence, and tariffs. The word tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary.
Now, Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary of the United Kingdom, said that there's an even trade between the U.S. and the U.K., so they shouldn't have tariffs. Does trade imbalances or a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalanced and balance, and also deficits. Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that. Bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen? I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. We're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out.
So, the United Kingdom
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut. And they'd have a lot more business because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely and there'd be no tariffs. If we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
So the United Kingdom might be in a better spot then.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a great asset to the state. Talk a little bit about the way Samaritan Purse has helped North Carolina.
Yeah, say once again, the first
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a big part of Samaritan Purse and their aid to North Carolina. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Franklin Graham has been a big asset to the state. His father was a big asset to the state, to the country, both of them. I just think this. I think Franklin and other people that are doing what Franklin have done, but I've known Franklin so long. He was at the inauguration. He made a speech, beautiful prayer. He does a great job. And we made a big donation, and it was money well spent. Sometimes you make donations, it's not well spent. He's done a great job here. He's done a really great job. So I want to thank you. We're going to the site now, and one of the sites, and I think for those that haven't seen it, you won't even believe it, but not enough work was done. We'll get it done fast. And I can speak for the Republican congressman. We're going to knock it out, right? We're going to knock it out. And I think we take it very personally because North Carolina was very unfairly treated. Very, very unfairly treated. And it was obvious. It was too obvious. And we're going to make up for lost time. So thank you to the people of North Carolina. Thank you, everybody.
No drop. Okay. Awesome. That's good. No worries.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, everybody. This is an honor to be with you. Unfortunately, it's a very sad period, but what makes you feel good is I met so many of the homeowners, and every one of them, a lot of them, and every one of them said to me they want to rebuild. I said, will you go elsewhere? No, 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 no. It wasn't even like a question. They love the area. They love the people. It's like a family. It's incredible, actually, when you see some things like that. We just left North Carolina, and we had just a similar type of disaster. It was water instead of fire, but boy, that water did damage like I've never seen before. And then you come here and you see this. But the people are so amazing, and your fire department was so beautiful. Every one of them is in perfect physical shape. I said, what do you guys do? They have very high standards, I can tell you. And we took pictures with all of them, but very nicely they gave us a little helmet. And I said, you wear this, huh? Is this real? And they said, yeah. I said, it's awfully heavy. You have to be very strong to wear that. But that's the original, right? So it's pretty good. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to be with you. Your governor met us at the plane, and we had a good talk, very, very positive talk. We have to work together to get this really worked out. I don't think you can realize how rough it is, how devastating it is until you see it. I didn't realize, I mean, I saw a lot of bad things on television, but the extent of it, the size of it, we flew over it in a helicopter. We flew to a few of the areas, and it is devastation. It's incredible. It's really an incineration. Even some of the chimneys came down, okay? When you have the chimneys come down, you know that's pretty hot stuff, and a lot of them were down. That was a bad sign, too. But I just want to commiserate, and we're going to celebrate. We'll be back to celebrate one day soon, I hope soon. The federal government standing behind you, 100%. The First Lady and I are in California to express a great love for the people of California. I've had great support always in California. We did very well recently, as you know, relatively speaking, at least I can say. And it's been amazing. I have property in California, not too far away, actually, right up the road in Palos Verdes, a big property. And I've always loved it. I've always loved being here. But we have to grieve for the 28 Californians who have tragically perished. And sadly, you're going to be finding more. And that's going to be very sad, because I know people are missing. And when you look at that kind of incineration, you know what's going to happen. You're going to find some more. But with all that we've gone through, I watched your firefighters, and they were really fighting at a big disadvantage. I got to know a lot of them just now, and they're incredible people. They were so happy. They were saying, congratulations, sir. You know, they're thinking about country maybe even before this location that they all love. But I'm pleased to be joined by many of the great California leaders, both Democrat and Republican. And it's an honor to meet some of you I didn't know, but I know every one of you by name. LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger. Thank you, Catherine, very much. Mayor Karen Bass. Thank you, Karen. It's nice to meet you. Representatives Jay Obernolte. Where's Jay? Jay, hi, Jay. It's been a tough period, Jay, right? Vince Fong, Kevin Kiley, Vince and Kevin, hi. Hi, Vince. A man I know very well. I know him too well, actually. And I say that actually with love because he's actually been a great congressman for a long time, and he's a great leader, and he loves the area as much as anybody, right? Daryl. So Daryl Issa, young Kim, congratulations on an excellent career. I appreciate it. Another one I know pretty well is, to put it mildly, is Tom McClintock. And he's been with us for a long time. We have some interesting things going on in Washington. And it's an honor that you guys are here. Thank you, Daryl, very much, Tom. George Whitesides. Good, George. Thanks. It's a great name, too, by the way. Brad Sherman. Oh, I know Brad well. I know Brad, but that's all right. We're on the same side of this one. I know that. We'll work together, Brad, very well. A lot of respect. And Presidential Envoy Rick Grinnell, who's done a fantastic job for me over the years. He was ambassador to Germany, and he was fantastic. So 2.5 weeks ago, over 100-mile-an-hour winds transformed the Palisades fire and other areas, too, into absolute infernos of death and destruction. And this is already the most expensive natural disaster, they say, in American history. That's pretty amazing. The numbers are going to be staggering. Most importantly, we have to get it built, and we have to hopefully find as few people as possible. We have already too many, 28 at least, they say. We're going to work very hard with the mayor, the governor, the supervisor, and everybody, and get the resources behind you. And we have some amazing people, and we have some amazing fighters for things like this. I also had the concept of getting some of the best developers in the country. I've had so many calls from developers, and they want to come in. They don't want anything. They just want to come in and help, and they really know how to get things done and get things built. I would ask that the local officials, because we're going to essentially waive all federal permits. We're going to have you go very quickly, because a federal permit can take 10 years. We're not going to do that. We don't want to take 10 days. I would. So we're declaring this a national emergency. By doing that, I can give you immediate permits. I'd ask that the local permitting process be the same. Some of the people were saying they're going to be forced to wait 18 months for their permits, and I don't think you're going to do that. I can't imagine that. So they are literally in a position right now they'd like to start tonight, and they'll clean their site, they'll do everything. They just want to start. And they were very concerned with the 18 months, so I'm sure you can get it down to, I would say, not even 18 days. They are ready, Mayor, they are ready to start. They're ready. I met so many of them. The fire took place. It's nice and cool there now, and they want to start taking the debris. They want to take the debris. They want to do everything. They'll get rid of everything. They're going to do it by their own hand. And you're going to see some amazing things happen. So we're waiving the federal permits. Either waive them or give them to you so rapidly it's going to be essentially the same thing, but we're going to try and just waive them. and we'll rely on the local. But the local, I hope, is going to do the same exact thing. They're literally ready to start right away tonight. So if you could do almost the same thing or the same thing would be great. For a building permit, you're going to have to, check things out a little bit. A lot of them, every single one of them said they're going to rebuild. I didn't have one person say they're selling or they're leaving or they're disgusted. They love their community, and it's incredible. We even had one from your neck of the woods, right? Yeah. Do you want to stand up? It was so nice the way she greeted my wife in a very different language, right? And it was very nice to see. And you're staying and you're going to rebuild and everything else. Yeah, everybody. So it's really great. So I'm signing an executive order to open up the pumps and valves in the north. We want to get that water pouring down here as quickly as possible and let hundreds of millions of gallons of water flow down into Southern California. And that'll be a big benefit to you. If you don't want it, you're going to tell me, but I can't imagine it. I tell you who does like it is the fire department. When I said that, they were very happy with that. They didn't mind hearing that. But we have a lot of water that is available, and I hope you can work that out among yourselves. But I think this will show that we have to have that water. We have to have that water. You're talking about unlimited water coming up from the Pacific Northwest, even coming up from parts of Canada. And it pours down naturally. It has for a million years. For a million years, it pours down. You'll never run out. You'll never have shortages, and you won't have things like this. And when you do, you'll have a lot of water to put it out. So I'm going to ask that you figure that out. But I really strongly recommended this 7 years ago, and I think I'm going to just do it. If you have big problems, you're going to let me know, but I just can't even imagine it. But we're also surging federal resources and assistance to the state, and California must adopt the common sense policies to prevent fires, and we all know that. We were talking 7 or 8 years ago, I was talking to people from Austria, people from Finland, people that live in forests. And one of the gentlemen, one of the top great leaders of Austria said, we don't have forest fires, and we have trees that are actually far more flammable than they have in California, but they literally rake their forest. They take down, if a tree comes down, they take it down. They say you have 18 months. After that, it's like a matchstick. And I know environmentally, some environmental groups like the trees to just melt into the ground, but when they do melt into the ground, they become an inferno. So I think you're going to have to change your ways in terms of that. You have 30 years of leaves, and those leaves dry as a bone, and they burn. Interestingly, because I was at Paradise, who is the general, right? A long time ago, I was at Paradise. What a beautiful paradise it was. And how is it doing, by the way? Are they rebuilding, right? Remember when he said, you were up here, President. I went there. I never saw anything like it. But you know what amazed me? I'll never forget it. The trees were okay, because the trees are loaded with water. They sucked that water out of the ground. And this was an inferno, just like, I would say, no different than this. And it was also the wind that caused a lot of problem. I mean, you had tremendous winds that there's not a lot you're going to do with. You had up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. It's unheard of. But when I was in Paradise, I noticed that the trees, they were dark on the bottom, but they were absolutely living, and they lived because they're soaking wet. But the trees that were on the ground, within 12 to 18 months, they say 18 months at a maximum, you have to cut them up, take them away, because they're matchsticks. But we saw that. You saw that with me. I commented at the time. I said, look at this. The house is burned down, and the tree is standing, and it's, other than being a little different color on the bottom, and it went through an inferno. It's amazing. It's soaking wet. So I think they have to do it. It's called management of the floor. And when the gentleman from Austria and also Finland and other countries, they said we manage the forest floor very, very carefully, and we don't have forest fires. They just don't have them. So I'm sure you're going to do the same thing. So there can be no golden age without the Golden State. It's a great state. It's a fantastic place. and we're going to have a big celebration soon. We're going to come back, and we'll come back as much as you need, and we're going to turn it around, and we're going to open the coffers. You know, America wants us to be taken care of. This was a horrible thing to watch, and the way it just kept going and going, and then they'd find another area. It was like genius on the other side. The fire was a genius, the way it kept moving, but we're not going to stand for it. I just met with the Olympic people, and they're all set to do a real job. So we have the Olympics, and I got them. You know, it was very interesting. I made the deal with the Olympics. I was called by your former mayor, and he said, would you call the Olympics? Because I must tell you, the Democrats, as you know, were not calling. They wouldn't do it. I don't know, there was a bad experience somehow. And I did, and I got along great with the Olympic Committee, and we got the Olympics, and then we got you the World Cup. That one I focused on with Gianni. Gianni was great, the head of it, and so you have that coming. And then we have the 250 years coming up, which is going to be a great celebration. But I'll never forget when I got the Olympics, and then I was president when I got them. And I said, oh boy, it's too bad I won't be president. Who knew this was going to happen, right? I said, I won't be president, because it would have been the 4 years. And in fact, I'd be retired by 4 days right now, I guess, right? So anyway, so I got him, and at least I'll be able to celebrate the Olympics, the World Cup, and the 250 years is going to be a very big deal. So we have the 3 biggest there are, and it was an honor to get. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you have a statement to make, I'd love to have politically, if you'd like to make a statement. Brad, go ahead.
Mr. President?
Okay, I'll do it.
Mr. President, thank you for coming
Thank you, Brad.
to the 32nd Congressional District and
Thank you.
making feel most people don't have adequate insurance because they couldn't get it. So one company dropped 1,600 policies just in the last 6 months. We've got 16 times as much property damage here as from Hawaii, and I'm hoping that we get at least 16 times the federal appropriation for the CDBG program that helps people rebuild. And I know you've talked about policies of California that you're not a fan of, but I've been in Congress for 28 years. I really disagree with Louisiana on their abortion policy. I disagree with them on their campaign finance policy. I disagree with North Dakota on their gun policy. And I would never turn to somebody from Louisiana and say, you keep living on your cousin's couch, because we're not going to help you rebuild until Louisiana agrees with me on a woman's right to choose. So I'm hoping that we can get these funds and that we don't punish individuals for the policies of their state. You can disagree with them, and I think you've got some ideas. I look forward to us listening. Also on tariffs, I often agree with you on tariffs. But how about no tariffs on building materials for the next 3 years?
We'll take a look at that, actually.
Mr.
President. Mayor, please.
Yes. First of all, let me just take the opportunity to officially welcome you to Los Angeles. Really appreciate you coming, and especially you come just a few days after your inauguration. So I want you to know that your presence here is very much appreciated. Let me also say that I know you had an opportunity to see the devastation. You've seen the extreme loss, the grief that people are going through here. And we are 100% committed to getting this neighborhood rebuilt again. You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape, we could get people back building as fast as possible, and we're going to continue doing that.
Mayor, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No. That will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope you're right.
You can hold me to it.
Because 4 groups said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
That will not be the case. You know, first we have to take care to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help. You're
You're a
You've got it.
builder.
I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be zero delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And the resource.
I am more worried because I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly, and they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste. What's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and I represent the areas of Altadena and Pasadena.
Yes.
That's the Eaton fire, and there is a world of hurt there. I know that you've gone to the Palisades and you've seen the devastation,
Right.
but it's apocalyptic in Altadena, and thank goodness I have a partner with Supervisor Catherine Barger in working to help people get back to normal and to rebuild. But right now they have nothing, and there have been 9,500 structures burned. Most of the deaths have occurred in our area at the Eaton fire, and thousands of people are without homes. And these are working people. These are working class people. They are people like Dr. Jackie Jacobs, who was an educator all her life and then finally became the first black administrator of her educational institution, Pasadena City College, and then retired, now 88 years old, and then her home of 30 years burned in Altadena.
Yeah.
She has nothing. She left with only the clothes on her back. She has nothing. And so they need this help, and I just want to make sure that you remember the people in Altadena and Pasadena, and that you can come there and see how terrible the devastation has been there so that they can get the help that they need.
Just remember one thing, and I like the way you express yourself beautifully, actually, but I've only been here 3 days, and I'll do a great job. But we had another president, and this took place during the life of another president, not me. But I'm going to be the president that's going to help you fix it, because he would not have been able to help you fix it, okay? So we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it, and we'll work closely. Yeah. We'll work closely, and I know your community was really devastated, incredibly, so we understand that. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I'm just going to follow up Supervisor
Yes, please, go ahead.
And I also represent Altadena, and what I tell people is, people of Altadena are the exact people you talked to when you were running. You've got individuals from every walk of life, and it is actually, at one time, was the only place African Americans could purchase homes. It was redlined. And so you've got a lot of generational wealth there. And one of the commitments I've made, and we've had meetings with some of your people in HUD that you've got there now, to work with them and work with your administration to see how we can help. And I've been pleasantly surprised. I know on HUD we've got some asks that we are going to be working with you on. But more importantly, I just really want to emphasize what Congresswoman Chu said, and that is that these are individuals who are feeling forgotten. And what I tell them is, and when we invited you out here, I told, when I went to the AME church, this president was talking to you when he was running. You understand the difficulty in making ends meet. You understand the high cost of living. And now their biggest fear is that that's going to impact their ability to rebuild. And I have made them this commitment, because this is my last term, that for the next 4 years, you talk about 18 months, I've told our county staff that if you're going to get in the way, then get another job. Because we are an all hands on deck. And quite frankly, if the bureaucracy can't get out of the way, we'll just roll over it. And we've said that, and we've made it clear. The governor's waived CEQA, which I feel should be completely reformed, if not eliminated. And if it's being eliminated for this.
How are they doing with CEQA?
How are they doing?
How is it? What's been the attitude of the people running that whole situation?
It adds sometimes years on to an application.
Can't do it. Can't.
No, and the governor's
and Coastal Commission also.
He waived that.
We're going to have to override the Coastal Commission because I've dealt with the Coastal Commission for a long time, and they are considered the most difficult in the entire country, and we cannot have them play their games and wait 10 years to give somebody a permit. In fact, I'm going to override the Coastal Commission. I'm not going to let them get away with their antics.
Well,
okay. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Mr. President, I just want to thank you for your leadership on California water policy. You made it a priority from day one. For those of us in the Central Valley and Northern California, we have catastrophic wildfires as well. California is a wildfire-prone area, so ensuring reliable, stable water supplies is critical. And so your leadership, your executive order, moving more water, maximizing flows throughout the state of California, building more water storage, more conveyance, coordinating the...
It would have a great impact on, I know your area very well. It would have an unbelievable impact on your area.
Absolutely. We just want to thank you for making it a priority.
You know, even beyond the fire stuff, the farms. I was driving up with congressmen a few years ago because they were complaining they had no water. And I was driving up, and you'll see all of this incredible land, but it's absolutely bone dry. And then you'll see little green patches, and the green patches are so beautiful. You know, they have that land, they say it's as good as Iowa farmland, but it has no water. And it's artificial, has no water. They send the water out into the Pacific Ocean. And when we let that water come through your valleys and down to Los Angeles and everything, you're going to have a different place. It's going to be a whole different place. Yep. And you guys have to get together and say, gee, we want it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So at least you said that, and I appreciate it. Because your farmers will be able to, instead of having 1 acre out of 100, which is all they have, they'll be able to have 100 acres out of 100, and it's among the best. They say it's the best farmland just about in the country, as good as any place there is. So, but you can't. It's no good without water. So that's beyond the fire stuff. But today we're talking about fire. But it's good for everything. So I hope you can lead a group, and Darrell, if you can lead a group, I know how you feel, and you know, support what I'm doing, because what I'm doing, I guess, is controversial. I don't know what's controversial about sending millions and millions of gallons of beautiful fresh water from the Pacific Northwest and further up than even that into an area that's bone dry. We have to, you know, I have a house in Beverly Hills, and you get notices every once in a while. They want you to go down to 38 gallons per person or something, per house, per person. I say, you mean you can only have, 38 gallons sounds like a lot. It's not a lot. And they want to do that every once in a while, and you just think it's ridiculous when you have like just about as much water as anybody in the country, and we shouldn't be in a position where you have tumbleweed that's dry as a bone. That even tumbleweed can be nice and green and rich and loaded up with water, and it's not going to burn. You don't even have to remove it. It's not going to burn, but it's just dry. So I hope you can all get together and say, I'm so happy with the water that's going to be flowing down, because I just don't see anything. They talk about the Delta smelt, which is a fish that's this big, but it is really not, doesn't have to be protected because it's in other areas. It's in numerous other areas, so it doesn't have to be protected. The people of California have to be protected.
Mr. President. Mr. President, could I just speak for a moment?
Kevin Kiley, California.
Yes.
First of all, you're absolutely right about the Coastal Commission. I've introduced legislation to rein them in. We've been talking with Rick about this.
They're out of control.
Absolutely out of control. It's insane the things they've been getting away with.
I think they thrive on it, actually, if you want to know the truth. It's so ridiculous.
That's right. They even tried to stop SpaceX from launching rockets.
It's true.
But you mentioned your predecessor and how he didn't fix the situation, which is absolutely right. Not only that, during the Calder Fire, which was a few years ago, which was in my district, 600 people lost their homes in a town called Grizzly Flat. He came and he promised that he would help them out, but he broke that promise Many times, he never delivered them the individual assistance they were asking for. So this has underscored for me the importance of helping the victims, making sure in this situation, in every fire, we get money to the victims, and we make sure that, that nothing stands in the way of that. But I just want to thank you for your focus on bringing sanity to California, water and fire policy. There's no place that needs a revolution in common sense quite like California.
You have so much water. Use it and be happy about it.
Mr. President,
Be happy.
Mr. President, my name is Joel Pollack, and I am a journalist with Breitbart News, but I happen to live in the Pacific Palisades, as do other colleagues. One colleague, John Kahn, wrote the song Fighter, which you played at your campaign rallies. He lost his house and the studio he wrote that song in. We were lucky because I was able to fight the fire on my fence. But when I got to my house, there was no water in the pipes. So I got inside and I picked up the flower vases because I give my wife flowers every week, and there was water there, and we started with that. Then I found my son's bucket of baseballs, and I dumped the baseballs on the ground, and I used the bucket. But there was still no water except for the water in the gutter coming from the burnt homes uphill. So I went to and fro to my gutter and my fence with my bucket. 2 guys showed up in a truck, 2 neighbors. We found 2 more buckets, bucket after bucket after bucket. Many of my neighbors, including some here, tried to fight the fires. They couldn't. We were lucky our house was saved. But we should not have to rely on buckets to put out a fire.
That's right.
You can't stop an 80-mile-per-hour wind or 100-mile-per-hour wind, but there were many things that went wrong here that are basic and small. We did not have traffic police to guide the evacuation, so there was gridlock on Sunset. They've removed the vehicles now, but there were dozens of vehicles that were abandoned by drivers who fled for their lives because there were no traffic cops available. The fire department wasn't pre-deployed, even though there was an extreme wind event coming. And many of my neighbors lost their fire insurance in the days before the blaze. So I asked my neighbors what would they want to know if I could ask the president a question, and the number one thing was insurance. Can you work with the insurance companies to get people back to where they were before they lost the coverage because of California's regulations? And can you make California change its rules so that when we build again, we can get fire insurance and we don't have to worry? And there's one other point I want to make. I really appreciate my congressman advocating for money. We need the money from the federal government. But I also understand Americans who are tired of spending money on California and disasters happen, and the California government passes $50 million to oppose your policies. So they have $50 million for that, but not for moving people into rental homes or helping people relocate or rebuild. I would like to ask you to follow the 9/11 Commission precedent and appoint a special master to watch the money, to make sure that every federal dollar that gets spent here is spent on fire relief and rebuilding and not on everything else.
Good idea. Here's a good one right over here. I don't know if you, do we all like
He's
Rick?
very busy.
He was ambassador to Germany. He was fantastic. Angela Merkel's happiest day ever in her history, and she had a long history, was the day I removed him from there and put him in charge of a very high level of intelligence and intelligent people, but they were not intelligent enough to fool him. But Rick Grinnell has been fantastic, and he lives here, and I don't know if you want to either think about it or recommend some people or get together and recommend some people as a group, which is fine. But Rick would be somebody that I would certainly consider. And Breitbart is fantastic, by the way. Congratulations on that. And I was so impressed with the firefighters I met before. And they said that, you know, I asked them how many of the pumps, how many of the hydrants were working. And it was a, you know, large percentage of them were not working at all. They had no water. And the ones that did have water didn't have a lot of pressure. And one of the things that was missing, many of you have sprinklers over your living room and your bathroom and your kitchen. I mean, if those sprinklers worked with some pressure, you would have had a much different outcome. So we're going to work on that. I think in terms of that, Rick Grinnell would be good, or Rick, you'll head up a group of people that would recommend a few people to me, maybe a commission, set up a commission. I like it because we're talking about a lot of money. The other one is Kelly Loeffler is now the head of small business. And small business is big business. It's actually one of the biggest banks in the world. We call it the Small Business Administration. And she's a cabinet member, full cabinet member. She's fantastic. Her husband is the head of the New York Stock Exchange, so they know something about money and other exchanges, actually. Fantastic people. And she wants to come here almost immediately after she gets approved. She wants to come here and open up small business to the area because they have a lot of money. I always say the small business is actually a very big business when you add it all up. And she's going to come here, and it's a very important thing. I want to thank also the First Lady because she wanted to come here. She wanted to be here. She has so many friends, and she also wanted to see North Carolina because that was another disaster that was so bad, so different, but so bad. And she just wanted to go there. We said we're going to stop at one, and then we're going to the other. In many respects, it was a depressing day, but in many respects, it was a beautiful day because the spirit is so incredible. North Carolina and here, very, very similar situation. So different and yet so similar, actually. And so I just thought it was very nice. You wanted to be here, and we appreciate that. Jay? Is that local? Yeah. You got to. I don't want to be the only one to give you permits like in one day, and then I find out that the cities, the towns, and the state is not going to give you permits. And you know, the problem with permits, it only takes one. Yeah. You might need 7 different permits. You shouldn't have any at this point. You should just let them build. And you know, you're only as good as the weakest one. So if you have one that's going to hold you up, but the others are going to give it to you in 24 hours, it's not going to help you very much. So they have to work on that.
So we were told last night 18 months, so that's not the answer. What is the answer?
It's what everybody said.
Well, and let me just tell you that we are going to do everything we can, slashing regulations, expediting everything so that people can begin the process right away. You know, we have the Disaster Recovery Center on Pico and Westwood. We have building and safety there. People are already contacting the local agencies. We're bringing our city departments together so that people don't get caught in the loop of going from one room to the next. We want them all to be in the same room so that you can get busy rebuilding ASAP. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And we will clear the lots, absolutely, in the city and in the county. We are working together. Both levels of government are working in unity. Yes.
6 months is no good.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And you know, we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe, and we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
The people are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, you know, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking, I know my people. you'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot.
Yeah.
I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because I looked,
signed
I
an
mean, you have a very
emergency
powerful
declaration.
emergency power, and you
Yes.
can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important thing is for people to be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them, everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
That was last night.
And that was last night.
On that. Right. That was the first time.
Mr. President, we're going to be together next week, and during the interim, many of us are involved in, and Tom McClintock, who you know has been an expert on this for years,
that's right.
We are going to be putting conditions on the money that do two things. Require that it be done timely and affordable, and then secondly, that we protect those who will come afterwards. As we speak, there are 6,000 acres burning in my district on the Mexican border. There will be more fires until we include in any disaster relief items which will prevent it or at least mitigate it from happening again. So you're going to see us proposing both of those.
Like water. Little things like water. You know, the party of common sense. See, we're the party of common sense. You're not, in all fairness.
Yes, sir.
We like water to put out fires. It's really quite efficient. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'm Jay Obernolte. My district is just a bit east of here.
Yep.
And you were talking about the need to better manage our forests and our wildlands to prevent this from happening again. And you were so right about that. Just last year, a couple months ago in October, they put out a fire. The line fire in my district was over twice as big as the Palisades fire. And they put it out less than a mile from my house in an area where we had done thinning, and they stopped the fire, Mr. President, on a fire break that we had built a couple of years ago.
That's right.
We have an area just on the other side of my community that hasn't been thinned in decades because it's being held up by a lawsuit from an environmental group that says we're going to reduce habitat. Mr. President, we need to, in addition to getting resources and boots on the ground to do this treatment, we need to reform our legal system to prevent these lawsuits from tying up these projects for years and years and years. And not to say that the merit shouldn't be heard, but we need to hear them and we need to move on, resolve them.
Is this a state group? State or federal group?
This is a local group, actually, Mr. President, but they have help from the state.
They use the environment to make themselves feel good, and they're destroying our country. And you've got to, at some point, you've got to put your foot down. I know exactly what you're talking. You have local and state groups, and you have federal groups too. And you got to fight them the right way, because you'll never, even if the mayor gives, you're going to have a local group come in and sue. You're not allowed to go on your property. They're going to talk about asbestos and every other thing. They want to go on their property, and they want to clean out their property. And you cannot let anything get in their way. And you'll have this place built up quickly, beautiful. It'll be more beautiful than before. And I would do one other thing. I'd give them a 10%, 15% bonus on their house, because they went through hell. And they should be allowed to build a little bit, give them a little bit lot line bonus, give them a bonus on size, maybe a little bonus on height. They went through hell. You know, some of them had houses where they were restricted. They have to have an 8-foot ceiling. You let them have a 10-foot ceiling. let them build a nice house, a nicer house than they had before. But I would give them a 10 or a 15% bonus on their plans, and I think it would be very well received, because they'll be able to build a little bit nicer house. Do you like that idea, by the way? They deserve it. Because you know what? It's not their fault that this fire took place. This fire took place, could have been stopped. It's not their fault. It's not the homeowner's fault. Yeah. And I think they should be entitled to a bonus on their house. Okay.
Mr. President.
Sir, go ahead. Thank you. Some good news from Paradise. We stood together there 6 years ago, along with the governor.
That was so
terrible. That 3,400 homes have been rebuilt out of the 18,000 lost. And there's 400 more in the wings. And so FEMA was very helpful. Now my colleague who has Altadena here, probably a very similar situation. Clearing the lots, they're probably going to have to clear about a foot worth of soil underneath those foundations to get the toxicity out. So they'll need a lot of help. Those are working class folks in Altadena.
And we did a good job with you people.
And FEMA was extremely helpful.
Yep.
30,000.
That was the old days when FEMA was good. FEMA's no good anymore.
Yeah.
That was when we ran it. FEMA was very good, but now FEMA's not good.
We've got to get them on track. But on the water, thanks so much for your strong efforts on that. Right now, Lake Shasta, which is in my district, is dumping more water than what is coming in. So is Folsom Lake. And those are federal projects that should be building up, because we're latter January here. And you can't count on the rain and the snow coming every year. And so if we don't fill those projects, then my colleague in San Joaquin Valley isn't going to get his water for his farmers. Well, it might be all right up in the north. They aren't going to get it. And then the water needs to go through aqueduct for Southern Cal to refill maybe the Santa Ynez Reservoir that was empty during this.
You know, you don't even need reservoirs. With the water coming down, you don't need the reservoir. You have so much water, you don't need it. You only have reservoirs because you're trying to hold water. But you have natural water coming down along the coast. It's for a million years it's been coming. You know that, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that, you have a lot of half pipe. In other words, you have the half pipe that's built, and it hasn't been used. You see, it's bone dry. No water's been in that half pipe for years and years. It was closed up years ago.
Had the reservoir?
It's already there. Yeah.
Had the reservoir above Palisades been full, they wouldn't have run out of water in a few hours. It would have gone for at least a few days with 40 acre feet out of 600,000.
That reservoir's been empty for a long time.
Yep.
It shouldn't have been empty. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, please.
Mr. President, my name is Tracy Park. I represent the people of the Pacific Palisades on the LA City Council. I wanted to thank you for your loyal support to our military, our police officers, and especially our firefighters.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My top priority going forward is to get these men and women home as soon as possible and open up the pathway to begin their rebuilding process. It was the Army Corps of Engineers who announced last night that it would be 18 months. I am fully committed to doing my part on the ground with our state agencies and our city and our county partners to speed this up.
Good.
I just ask for your ongoing partnership with FEMA and the EPA and our other federal agencies to make sure that we have a commitment across all layers of government to get these people back home. Thank you, sir.
I do. Thank you very much. It's well said. I do have to say FEMA is a big disappointment. We had it working well. We had great people, but FEMA's not good anymore. What FEMA did in North Carolina, you know, they still haven't even gone to certain areas. They don't know what they're doing. And I say, you don't need FEMA. You need a good state government. And when you have a problem in Los Angeles, or when you have a problem even in the state of California, you have your own, essentially, FEMA. You fix it yourself. You don't have somebody coming in from a state where they have no idea, like Florida. They come in from hurricanes. They have people staying in Alaska. And now they see, oh, this is very nice. But by the time they get familiar with it, they don't know anything. The FEMA is a very expensive, in my opinion, mostly failed situation. We had great people. We did some great jobs. But each state should take care of their problem and get money from the federal government. It would be so much better, so much more efficient. So we're looking at that because we have had, and you're going to have problems with FEMA too. You've already had problems with FEMA. FEMA doesn't even show up. It takes weeks before they even show up. And what happens is the state then relies on FEMA, and nobody does anything because FEMA doesn't show up. So it's not a good situation. So we'll make some recommendations on that. But you have to push like hell to get the permits, because I'm just hearing things that I don't like to hear. I think you're not going to get your permits as fast as people are saying. We have to get them. And Mayor, if I can help you at all in that regard, you'll let me know. But you're going to have all your federal permits. That's going to be the easy part, which, by the way, is by far the hardest part. Do you know who controls your water is Department of Commerce, and I already have that approval. And that's usually a very long process, but that's the hard part was the federal, but we already have that done. So anything I can do, please let me know. Please, go ahead. You lost all your schools. You lost four. You lost your 4 schools. Were they completely burned down, the schools? Mm-hmm. Wow. All of them? All of them? Pretty much all of them, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was in elementary, which is the number of our kids all go to, so we can't really fly here. No, you can't. No.
That's right.
So that's an area where we would love your help and support. I love your idea of having some, local council that can use those $12 completely.
Well, I'm going to ask Rick to set, I think right from this table, you might put a couple of the fire guys back there on that I just met, okay? Because they're really good. But get a group and figure out how we can do the processing faster.
Mr. President, if I can just defend FEMA a little bit.
Yeah.
They brought thousands of people in. I don't know how they're doing in other states. They're doing a good job for us here. They've got a huge center that's open from 9 in the morning till 8 at night. But also, when you have a disaster this size, you need to be able to deploy thousands of people, which they've been able to do. Now, California, if we did it on our own, maybe we'd have thousands of people.
You do.
But if Rhode Island has a Palisades disaster, are they then supposed to keep thousands?
How many people do you have in California? 36? How many million? How many million people do you have? You have 40 million people. You're not going to get a few thousand people. The problem with FEMA is they come from all over the country. They end up in arguments with your people from California because they want to do it a totally different way. And I can live either way, but you haven't gotten very much done with FEMA and all you have to do is look at North Carolina. It's one of the great disasters of all time.
And Mr. President, you can't have Rhode Island maintain a staff of thousands and thousands of people waiting to see if they have a disaster.
You know who came in and fixed North Carolina or the process? Other states, people from all over the country came. And you have the same thing. You have a lot of people from all over the country. Getting the people is not a problem. Getting the organization is a big problem. FEMA's incompetently run, and it costs about 3 times more than it should cost.
I'm hoping
we can spend money on schools instead of giving money to bureaucracy. It takes you so much longer.
Mr. President,
it takes you so much longer
FEMA for helping our people.
FEMA has a standard, Brad, and I'm a builder. I was a very good builder. FEMA has a standard that's so slow. They want permit on permit on permit, and then they want permits on top of that. If you use FEMA, you'll be here for a long time. What I'm saying is get the city, get the state to give you immediate 24-hour permits. These people are going to build their own homes. They're going to get them built fast. Yeah. How many of the people, could I ask you one question? How many of the people, what are people going to do for financing? What are people going to do? How many people can build a home, percentage-wise, like where they don't have to go out and get funds? Some people are just not going to be able to rebuild their home because they have a beautiful home, but they don't have cash, right? So what are people looking to do in that case? You're going to have a big percentage, I would assume, Brad, like that. What are they going to do? Go ahead.
Mr. President, without your help, they're only going to get $43,000 from the federal government, even if they have a half
Well, you know,
$1 million
you did
uninsured
something,
loss.
Brad, where every insurance company in the country left California.
That's right.
That's why you have no insurance, because you made it so impossible. People that think like you made it so impossible. And you know,
Brad, me,
every
Mr.
insurance
President,
company.
I don't know what
I'll
you
tell
know
you this,
about my thinking.
I've never seen a state where almost nobody has insurance. And I said, what happened? And they said like 6 months ago they all left, and 2 years ago they had different quadrants, but they left. And you have very little insurance here. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
We had a lot of insurance companies pull out, but I have no
And
idea.
the insurance companies actually have been warning you. Now, I'm not a big fan of insurance companies, okay? They have their big drawbacks too, but the insurance company, I read the papers very well, and they've been warning California for a long time. They've also been saying, we want water. You don't have water. You're supposed to get fire insurance. And the insurance company goes, you don't have any water in your fire hydrants. So it's a tough situation. I'm not a big fan of insurance companies. I get that.
They're pulling out of Florida
Brad,
as
you
well.
lost your insurance company 6 months ago because the state wouldn't give them what they had to have.
Yeah, and Mr. President, I remember the
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I'm Ed Ring from the California Policy Center, and in the matter of prevention of fires, in the matter of the cost of rebuilding, both of which affect insurance rates, I think one, to support something one of the other participants said, a reform you might consider, and it could be an act of Congress, is that the losers in environmentalist lawsuits pays the legal fees. And I think that would be a big step in the right direction.
The losers of a lawsuit should pay all the fees.
Oh, you mean loser pays. I love that. Well, if you did loser pays, you could cut your courts in you could cut them down about 90%. Loser pays. You know what would also benefit? Medical. If you had loser pays for medical, your medical costs would go down by 50%. That's an interesting thing. I bring that up, but the only problem, the strongest lobby in the world, you know what it is? The lawyer lobby. So when you go back to your local congressman, hello, congressman, how about going against the lawyers for a little while? No, loser pay is, very good. In Europe, they use it in certain parts of Europe, and they have very little litigations, right? Yes, please.
Mr. President, I represent the 27th Congressional District, which is on the north side of the North San Fernando Valley through Santa Clarita and Lancaster and Palmdale. I just wanted to tell you a story of heroism. Yesterday, we had another big fire. We had several big fires across, and this fire was moving fast. It was moving 1,000 feet per minute. But what these heroes did, the firefighters and the sheriffs and the law enforcement officials, they mobilized 4,000 people within about 6 hours. They mobilized 20 air attack aircraft and helicopters, and they saved the city of Castaic. And so I just wanted to ask you to join us in recognizing those amazing heroes.
I love that.
I think the thing that we all, and I'm very encouraged by your words, we're all here to help the folks here, right?
That's right.
And your words about building quickly, building well, but building quickly is what I think we are all here to do. And I think if we can take that spirit out of today, it is really important that you and your wife are here. If we can take that spirit, we're going to help these people as quickly as possible, get them back on their feet, and recreate these amazing communities that we have here.
And you'll take the word spirit, such a great word, such an important word. You'll take their guts away. You'll take their spirit away if you don't give them the permits. You're going to take their guts. They're going to say, all of a sudden they'll start looking for houses, and your whole thing is going to blow up on you. These people want to get going. This place can go quickly, but you don't want to take their spirit away, and that will take their spirit away. So you're 100% right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
They offer you 2% interest on that house. The treasuries are 4%.
Right.
They're expanding them, and that is the margin on the back.
That's right.
Okay. Could you please
Oh, you noticed that. Oh, look at this guy. He studies that. No, Bank of America, they're not nice. Sounds very nice. The Bank of America, they're not nice. Well, we're doing numbers on banks, yeah. We're doing it. Is that Leonard Boxer next to you? Leonard? Huh? We have Leonard, we have, oh, there's Skip. I have them all here, huh? Look at Skip, I haven't seen you in a long time. He used to be a very good golfer. You still a good golfer? Huh? And he's a good guy, too. Hi, Skip. You got them all, huh? Got Leonard, Skip. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say Paradise is coming back because of the help that you gave us, and we really want to thank you for that. And that's why we're here also, is because we want to help our
We did a good job with Paradise, didn't we? What a fire that was.
It was a terrible
We
fire.
had many people were found, and only the certain type of German Shepherd could even find it, right? You could not tell. The dog would go right up. There's the body. And the incineration was so horrible. So horrible.
And when we see the same devastation.
So Paradise is going good, right?
It's going good. We're coming back. And
Yeah,
it's because of the help, and we want to help our brothers and sisters here in LA to come back too. And I know that's what you're going to do. And so we really appreciate that. But from Paradise to the Palisades, the problem is fuel. It's the fuel, the vegetation, the dry grasses, the chaparral. There's a tremendous amount of it, and we're not.
You got to remove it. You got to remove it, and you got to remove it, and you got to do the other things that we've said 10 times. I mean,
Right.
you got to remove it. You just can't have it. I see it even now. I saw the fire. We flew over it, and you got a lot of dry stuff. It's bone dry.
And the environmental.
And you know, I predicted this 7 years ago. I said, "Do it. Get it done." And everybody laughed. They thought it was, I said, forest management. They thought it was such a funny term. Ha, 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 that's so funny. Now it's not funny anymore, you know? We were right.
It's number one cause of these fires. Number one cause.
You wouldn't have any fires.
Right. And if we just remove those environmental regulations, NEPA, CEQA at the state level, that get in the way of us doing those projects.
It's all a con job, you know that, right? It's all a big con
the
job.
town of Berry Creek in my district,
Yeah.
CEQA stopped them from doing a fuel reduction project. They said 18 months. That's where 18 months comes from, because at least 18 months on a CEQA review. That community is no longer here today because of the North Complex fire. We didn't build that project. We need to make sure that never happens again. We have to stop those things from happening so we don't have.
Well, it will happen here
Palisades.
unless you're very strong as a group of people and demand that you have the right to go onto your property and start the process immediately, like tomorrow. How many people did I see on your street where they're standing in front of their lot? The house there's really not much demolition. It's incinerated, right? So it's not like a lot of stuff. It's not like you have 3 stories worth of concrete. It's all incinerated. And all of the people were standing there and they weren't allowed to even go onto their lot. You got to let them do. If you can do that, you're going to see this thing go like wildfire. And if you don't, you're going to have those lots for years because people are going to leave. They're going to, as much as you love your location and your place, and you're in the real estate business, as much as you love your location and your site, your housing sites, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to find other things. They're not going to put up with it. They have spirit now, but in a year from now, they won't have spirit if you don't let them go. So just harness it. Well, I think, look, I'm going to give you everything you want. I'm going to give you more than any president would have ever given you. If most presidents wouldn't be here, number one. They certainly wouldn't be here after 3 days. They would not be here. I can tell you that. And we're going to override all of permitting. The only thing you have to do is get your state people, which should be very easy, because that's literally so easy to do. And I know the mayor, and I know she's working very hard, but she's got very powerful emergency, it's called an emergency petition. And you can petition very quickly. And I just hope you can give them, because it's very rare that the federal government would be ahead of the state government, because the federal permits are much tougher. But you essentially already have your permits. You can just go and go wild. Brad, as soon as you can get those permits, whatever you can do, if you can put that genius of yours to work on getting a permit, you'll be doing much better than some of the other things you've said, okay? But we do appreciate you. So, Mayor, could I just leave you with that? It's a big permitting deal. We're going to be back, and I'm going to put Rick in charge of just representing me for a period of time until we figure out exactly who we want to do it, whether we want a commission or an individual. You know, if you have a good individual, if you have a really good individual, and they are rare, but if you have a really good individual, it's always better than a commission, because the commission gets bogged down a little bit, Darrell, right? So it's if you had the right individual, and I know we do. We have a lot of great individuals in this community, but it's an honor to be with you. It was an honor to be with your firemen before and your policemen. We met some great people. And these are people that are leaders, and they're just fantastic. It's a fantastic group of people, and they were very brave. I want to tell you, your fire people are so well thought of. You had big fires, and it was hard to put them out, but boy, were they brave. They were really fighting against a tough thing, and everybody in the country knows it. Everybody in the country knows it. And it was an honor to be with you. So I'll be back, and we'll work very hard, and I hope you guys can start doing your cleanup starting like tomorrow at around 12 o'clock, okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Brad. Thank you, everybody. Great to be back in this beautiful city to celebrate the historic first week in the White House. That was definitely historic. And I had a lot of help in winning. Joe Lombardo, your governor, is here someplace. Where's Joe? Thank you, Joe. You're looking good, Joe. Thank you very much. What a group. But look at who you have next to you. How can you fail with that guy? Also, Lieutenant Governor Stavros Anthony. Stavros, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Where are you? There you are, Stavros. You're very good. Is he doing a good job, Joe? I think so, huh? He's all right. Huh? Nevada GOP Chair Michael McDonald. He did something which not a lot of people have been able to do, but I think Republicans are going to start winning the state. You know, typically they don't necessarily do so good. We did really well. We won in a landslide. That's really why I'm here, I must be honest with you. Republican National Committee woman, Sigal Chattah. Sigal, thank you, wherever you may be. Hi, Sigal, thank you very much. Republican National Committeeman, Jim DeGraffenreid. That's a hell of a beautiful name, but I know the name so long, it's easy to say. One of the greatest people, I'll tell you, a man who's done so damn well. I don't know what it is with him. He's just a legend. He's one person, you know, we can all sort of be replaced, although we don't like to think that. Maybe it's not true. But this is a guy that can't be replaced. There's nobody like him. Dana White. Where's Dana White? Where's Dana White? Where the hell is he? UFC. He's great. Are the Nelk Boys here? Oh, yeah, there they are, the Nelk Boys right there. And Rick Harrison. Rick, thank you very much for being here. You're around here someplace with Dana. Mr. Phil Ruffin, his wife Alexandra, and their two beautiful children, Richard and Marlena. Phil, where's Ruffin? Where's Phil Ruffin? He's right here, so he's some legend, I'll tell you. He's a legend in Las Vegas and beyond. Phil, he's here. He'll be coming out. Today we talk about how we're going to end the economic suffering and stagnation and disaster of the past 4 years and create the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And as I said in my inaugural address, which, by the way, it got the highest rating in the history of Fox. Can you believe that? That's nice. The golden age of America begins right now, but I have to be honest with you, I'm really here for a different reason. I'm here to say thank you. I went to North Carolina yesterday, and then I flew to see just an unbelievable problem and just a mess in Los Angeles, right? And I said, you know what I ought to do? I want to come to a state known as Nevada. Has anyone ever heard of it? And don't ever mispronounce the name. You're not allowed to do that. You mispronounce the name, you got a problem. You ever see somebody when they say it's Nevada? Nevada? No, they're in deep trouble. I want to come to Nevada to pay my respects because this is the only Republican win of this state in decades, and it was a very big landslide. So. But I think Republicans are going to win a lot now. But we had a big win, and it was an early win, and that was a bad signal for the Democrats. They heard that we were leading so big here, and Joe helped us so much, and a lot of people in this room helped us a lot. Special group. And so I said, you know what I'll do? We're going to fly around it. And I said, let's fly right over it. Let's land, and I'll do something, and I'll just say it. But I want to say it in